quite a few parts to these wings. I'll just point them out to start with. These are the spars that go between both wings. This is the front one. It goes inside this spar in the wing through the hole in the end here, all the way up to where this little collar is on it, about that far inside of it. We can set that aside now. There is a rear spar in this wing right through here, and there's another internal spar that goes inside that up to about right here. We can set those two aside. The little carbon fiber rods I was talking about that weren't in the instruction are these. Very thin, very small. There's a channel for them right here in the flaps on each side where they'll go in. You can see it in the flap there. Those were the two I was worried about getting lost. I'll take that back out, set it aside. So the two spars here have kind of a unique system to marry them up with the boom tails that will go up through here. And they look like this. Oops. This is the rear one. It's got a place. It's basically almost made the same as the front one. Yeah, it's made the same as the front one, except the front one has a little piece on top of this I'll show. So this actually sinks down deep into the wing in a channel and leaves this open so this spar can go through it like that. Then a screw goes through here to tighten down the booms, and the boom goes through this way. That has to all be sanded. Like I say, right here is a really deep rear channel for this portion of it. So that goes down in there like that. Again, this comes through. It all glues down. The front one, a little bit different. Virtually the same, as you see. Probably molded the same way, except this one has this little ring on the front for the connection for the rear boom. Other than that, they're almost exactly the same. Oops. Probably come from the same molding process. Well, no, I guess it wouldn't be. Because this one again has the little place in the part for the jack on this connector that connects the rear control surfaces. This is the part I'm most worried about, me getting it in there correctly. Oops. So the main spar goes through the bottom of this one. Little hole down in here is not quite so deep, so that the spar goes in like that. And of course there are two foam caps to capture those spars inside the wing. This one has to be cut here and here to get around this part where the spar goes through the plastic. I'll pull these out just for illustration. And you know what I'm talking about. After the spar's in there, these go in and glue down to really capture the spar. Same with the front. Front doesn't have to be completely cut. This can be cut out, and then the front spar cap, well, we'll go in there without this part cut out because of this little area here, and this servo has to be up. But you see exactly what I'm saying there. Also, this servo has to be out. And now it can go down in there. And if you remember, I've got to cut just a little piece of that foam. The more I look at this kit, the more it really is one of the better made kits I've seen. So that's basically the setup. Again, this one goes in the front. This goes to the flight controller. This one part glues in here, right, like this in the front of this, and this glues into the tail boom so that later when you insert the tail boom, these lock, and you've got 3 different connections to the rear servos on each side. I'm going to put them in on each side. So it's not complex. There are a lot of components. Oh yeah, and this is fully put in. Then we have the pods to cover them. Again, you'll see that that is nice and square, but if you put the wrong pod on it, you will find that it isn't. You get this kind of junk. Where it's beveled, and the bevel is such that there's a right one and left one, and they're not interchangeable. So that's basically what we're going to do here. The other wing will have a control antenna. The Dragon Link 433 came today, and it will be put in the other wing, I'm pretty sure. And this is the other part I was telling you about. That 45mm CG goes from right here back to the center of this spar or the rear of this bar. Depends how nose heavy you want it. It doesn't go from the leading edge of the slat, and you can see this slat's blocked up here and here with a piece of foam, just like the flap right here is blocked up. That has to be cut out along with the edges of this, with these two cut out. There's no blocks on the aileron, but there is need to cut each end of the aileron. That's common on a lot of airplanes. So not complex at all, but there are quite a few steps here. Got one channel here for the servo wires for both servos. Interesting design. Fairly good in my opinion. I'm going to leave these blocks in until I connect the servos and hopefully break them right at the end. Hopefully keep my linkages, figure out the length of my linkages, because I'm going to use the threaded rods I have in the little ball end linkage ends. So hopefully I can set it exactly this way for completely neutral. Then break loose the blocks, and then when the servo moves, it'll be moving the surfaces. You also have to put in control horns on everything, 3 places. These little mold left over from the mold. This one has to be cut out because it's underneath the pod and holds it up. It won't fit down exactly against the wing on this side because of this. These two are just taken out for aerodynamics. Going to tape the trailing and leading edges with some packing tape with fiberglass reinforcement when I find it. Can't really find it anywhere yet. So all of that's fairly straightforward. There's just a lot of steps to this. I'll glue these in first. These two pieces in first. Then the spars. Then because the servo wires don't go through any of these, I'll do the top caps. And then do the connection here for the, maybe that does go through. Might be good to put that wire from that in this channel. The directions show it coming out over here and going in this channel, but I don't always follow the directions explicitly. The instructions for this are fair. Not sure what else I can say about this before I actually get started with the physical build. Not much to it. This wing is about 4 inches longer on each side than the Skyhunter 1800. So this will be my largest wingspan airplane when it's completed. So far, I like it pretty much. Seems to be a better kit than I'd give it credit for in the past. And doing my pre-planning, I thought there was a problem with the motor mount that there technically didn't end up being. And cutting a little foam out of that servo bay up there is not such a big deal. Servo dimensions change so fast it isn't even funny when somebody tries to develop a kit like this. Some become unavailable, and when you switch to another one, it's a few millimeters difference, so I don't consider that much of a problem. Still, I'm not real wild about this 1/8 inch stereo jack connection here for the tail booms to the back control surfaces, but after it all goes together, I'll have to see how I end up liking it. I might like it more than I think. So I guess the first thing I should do is start sanding these channels, sanding those hard plastic parts, sanding the bottom of these, sanding the outside surface of the two spars, sanding the underside of the pod, and in general just getting it all ready to go together. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. So back to the assembly instructions real quick. This shows the tail parts and the booms right in here, and the canopy and the fuselage and the spinner over here. We're just doing these wings right now. Again, the two little carbon fiber rods that go in the ailerons, not the flaps, are not in this picture. Plus, if you notice, these number 4, notice stopper screws. Well, there's no stopper screws in this kit. There's no screw holes. There's no screws in the kit to put in the holes if there were any. And again, the other two carbon fiber rods are not in this picture for the ailerons. These are the pieces for the booms to be held in. The rest of this is all other So here we are. Fuselage assembly we've already done. I did not put the magnets in yet or glue this plate in yet. I looked at it today. Probably can go ahead and do that. Got a magnet here that goes into, and these on the bottom. Not going to put this assembly in right here because I'm not going to use a GoPro. I'm going to use that hole as a air vent. I can go ahead and do that too. So there we are. We're finished with that. Now we're wing assemblies. Again, talks about the female servo jacks must be towards the leading edge of the wings. The tail booms must pass through. This one doesn't have the little holder for the 1/8 inch stereo jack as it comes through. They're showing the left wing. Actually, they're showing the right wing. I got the left wing over there upside down. Note, screw placed in main wing spar must be positioned towards outside of wing to allow for inner spar. I guess that's a stop for the inner spar. It's not in the kit. There's not a hole in the spar. There's a collar on the spar that goes inside this spar that would stop it, that I'm going to glue in the center of it. I'll show that when I get to that step. Maybe instead of having these stopper screws, I guess that's what they are, they've got a collar on the spar that goes inside this one now in the center. I don't know. It's not there. There's no hole in it. It's not marked. This is talking about the rear tail boom setup. Like I say, you have to cut a section out of that spar cap there. Locking bolts go through. All these pieces are the same, so on one side you're going to have to screw in from the fuselage. You're going to have to get your screwdriver between the fuselage and this X head here. On the other side, the screwdriver is going to be on the outboard of the wing, and fuselage won't even be in the way. They could have been made different, but no sense in having multiple molds for all this crap. They're already having to have two. One in the front has to have that stereo jack holder on it, and the one in the back doesn't. This is just talking about some of the simple stuff. You see they've already got the spar caps on here. They're showing the spars coming out completely flush. That's not the way they work in this new plane. Spars are just a little bit shorter than the channel. Not the back one, the front one is. Back one doesn't have any kind of collar to center the spar that goes inside. I'll have to check it, see if it's got a hole for a screw. This is kind of on down the line. This was what I was talking about. There is a right and left pod. This is where you have to cut out the blocks on the flaps if you use them. And then this talks about tail assembly. By the way, in here, they covered their butt in here. Locating center aileron servos. Glue servos into wing. Fasten horn to show at 90 degrees. Some servos may require some additional foam trimming. They covered their butt right there, didn't they? Way to go, Ready Made RC. I've been buying from them for 12 years or more. Good company. Old company. Don't have many problems with them. Canceling an order is a little hard with them. Can be problematic, but that's about it. but they covered their butt right there. So, although there's quite a few steps with the wing assembly, I don't think it's going to be a grave problem. And these slots right here are where your hex driver goes through to get on the nut to tighten down the booms once they're placed up through here. That's what these slots are for. And I'm talking about tightening down this nut right here through that slot, and then one in the front. Front also has a screw through it that you have to tighten down. And I highly recommend, as they do, you glue this onto this piece of plastic. Elsewise, if you turn this too far, your bolt comes loose, you're going to have nut's going to fall off the other side. So I'd glue this in here. I think they apply glue to nuts to prevent them from backing out when pod cover is installed. So they kind of reference that too. Okay, that's about it for wing assembly that I can think of to tell you right now. Tail assembly will be next after the wing assembly. I'm going to break this here for brevity, and the next one will be gluing. Thank you, guys.